The wait is over. Dive into Audible's most anticipated collection, The Best of 2025, featuring top audiobooks, podcasts, and originals across all genres. Our editors have carefully curated this year's must-listens, from brilliant hidden gems to the buzziest new releases. Every title in this collection has earned its spot. This is your go-to for the absolute best in 2025 audio entertainment. Whether you love thrillers, romance, or nonfiction, your next favorite listen awaits. Discover why there's more to imagine when you listen at audible.com/bestoftheyear.
AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. I'm Matt.
This is Shaq O'Neal, and I hate Matt.
Cassie Spazzale.
What you made me do.
Ooh, I kind of want more of it. Mew. So. And Mr. Toby Time play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Terrio in 1 hour. Tigers finishing off their coaching staff, finishing off signing day. Saints-Bucks prediction. We got a ton to do, but let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
There is only one place to begin today. As the early signing period wraps up, the Tigers had a little work to do. Now, it wasn't all sunshine and roses because there's some big fat offensive lineman named Bryson Cooley who decided he's going to go play for that chump who wears a hoodie and looks like Elmer Fudd in Alabama. Good luck getting purged out of this class, you big dork. Good luck being irrelevant. I'm just kidding. He's a young kid with a lot of great opportunity ahead of him. So going to play at Alabama really is a great opportunity. So congrats to him and all that sort of stuff. But all of the wailing and gnashing of teeth with the delaying of signatures from some of the premier prospects in this LSU class. All you dorks going off on Frank Wilson earlier this week. How dare you? Chumps, don't believe everything you read on the internet, you idiots. Yeah, called you an idiot. Why? Did you see what's happened here over the past couple days? Sometimes when there's change and turnover, sometimes young people show more wisdom than old people who are just morons and want to yell about what 18-year-olds do. When all you got to do is be a little patient. And what happens? A day like today happens. Give me my music, Muse, because you know what happened? LSU just shoved arguably the best defensive line signing class ever straight up your donkey. Oh, y'all thought Big Rich Anderson was wavering. Hell no! Edna Carr, stand up! Except not tonight at 7 o'clock. Go Calico Bears. Get it right, Edna Carr. You're going down, Richard Anderson. You're going down, Aiden Hall. You're going down to Chinatown, Bryce Brown. A little lower Muse. I can't even hear myself. I mean, they're really good, though. You know, I mean, I think they've won like 70 in a row or something. Have they ever lost a game? Have they ever lost a game?
Yeah, they've lost a game.
They're really good.
They did just send 15 guys to D1 schools, though.
Yeah, they're pretty good. But Big Rich, number one defensive tackle in the country, is an LSU Tiger. And, what about Trenton Henderson? You know, number one edge prospect in the state of Florida. All this nonsense about how he may end up at one of those Florida schools. Nah, Trenton Henderson today, he and Tiger sent in the paperwork, made it official. Big old freak show, tall, long edge out of the Pine Belt there in Pensacola, Florida. He coming on down, Trenton Henderson. That's what I'm talking about. But there was more work to be done. Deuce Gerald's, a lot of people thought, oh no. Deuce Gerald's out of Georgia. Oregon got lots of money. Coach Frank up in the air. His dad was recruited by Coach Frank at Ole Miss. Could we be seeing Deuce Gerald's have some second thoughts? Could Deuce Gerald's not end up in this LSU class? Possibly. Could we see a flip? Deuce Gerald said, hell no, get out of here with all that nonsense. STTDB, bro. Coming to Baton Rouge. That's where we going to represent Tiger Nation. Deuce Gerald's ink dry. Send in the facts. And we send in faxes still because they can't be corrupted like an email or a text message or something like that. That's why we use faxes still. But it's done. Atta babe 2, come on down. Look good in that uniform. Even if it's the stupid white helmet and white jersey and the all whites. Like, I don't know why you'd want to wear the all whites. I mean, let's go with the gold, white, gold. Could we do that? Not really my choice, but you all get to pick. But there was one more. And it was the big one. The biggest one. The one that we have all been waiting on and hoping for years. He's listed as the number one interior offensive lineman in America. He's listed as the number one athlete in America. He's probably going to end up playing edge at LSU. He's the number one prospect in America, regardless of position. And he plays right there at U-High. And on Sunday night, when Lane Kiffin landed, the first person that was at football ops on that coach's balcony throwing up the L is the guy that was in Tiger Stadium for every single home game this year. We were waiting to see what was going to happen with Lamar Brown. He didn't sign on Wednesday. He didn't sign on Thursday. There was supposed to be a ceremony at U-High today. Lamar Brown texted me yesterday during the show and said, not doing the ceremony, and now we know why. We know why. It's not because he was having second thoughts. It's because the Cubs were playing a state semifinal game today, and he wanted to be focused on a game day, but that didn't deter him. You know what the number one player in the country did today? The number one player in the country, Lamar Brown, sent in his paperwork. Ink dry, fact sent. Lamar Brown is an LSU Tiger. Can't really say it. If we said it, they'd probably find it.
But you feel it.
If you're in your car, scream it loud. Loud as you can. Roll down your window and yell it for all to hear, especially if you live in Oxford. Yell it loud so they can hear you in Oxford. Yell it loud so they can hear you in Tuscaloosa. Hey, College Station. About to steal your former defensive line coach, too, with our best defensive line class ever. Richard Anderson, number one defensive tackle in America. Trenton Henderson, top 100 overall prospect, top 10 edge in America. Deuce Gerald's the number 3 defensive lineman in America. Lamar Brown, the number 1 player in America. Here come the Tigers. Straight up your donkey. The lane train is coming to bring the pain and disdain. Right in the rain. Wash that or it'll stain. All right, so that's good. We're good. We're good. Yeah, that's good. All right. Did I miss any? There was once a player at LSU named Macadius Bane. How about that, Paul Muse?
Keep going.
How do you
Come
like
on.
that one? How did you like that one?
I like the rhymes.
Our side piece is Jake Crane.
Boom.
Morton Anderson's nickname was the Great Dane. If you're upset and you're pretending to be, you would call it feign. The Saints had a center called Jeff Fain. If it's not a loss, then it's a gain.
I like that one. That was strong.
There was a wrestler named Kane. Stay in your own lane. Grab a horse's mane. I'm done.
All right. Good run.
Sweating. Been a minute. Look, this is a really nice LSU Alumni Association hoodie. Shout out to the LSU Alumni Association for the hoodie, but it's got to come off. I'm sweating.
Is that a hoodie or a quarter zip? Looks like a quarter zip.
What?
That's a quarter zip.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, quarter zip. But it's got to come off.
It's got to come off. Yeah. At least you didn't lose your voice.
Oh, I think I did.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We're teetering there, Moose.
Yeah, okay.
We're teetering. I can feel it. We're teetering, Moose. Okay. By the way, Bryson Martinez, Richard Anderson, Lamar Brown, all Duplessis Builders NIL athletes, all Tigers. How about that? All right, it's after further review. Let's knock out a quick break. Y'all have an awesome, awesome day. I'm not bidding you farewell. I'm just going to break, and then we're going to come back. Our show opens brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR. All right, signing class is done. What about the coaching staff? Give you an update there. Stay here.
AFR.
Buying or selling commercial or residential. Think real estate, think Darren James. Hey, remember, 2 things I want to tell you about. Number 1, guaranteed sale. You need to sell your home. You're worried about getting into a contract. Will they sell your home? Will the realtor sell your home? You're going to get stuck in a contract. Don't worry about that. Guarantees he's going to sell your home. Sit down with Darren, agree to a price and a deadline. If he doesn't have your home sold at that price by that deadline, he'll have your home bought with cash or he'll sell it for free. Agent225.com, agent225.com. Or you can always call Darren James at 335-7666, 335-7666. And if you want to know what your home is worth, go to the website, hit the home value tool, type in your address, boom, local market data to tell you exactly what your home is worth. Agent225.com.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
Wherever you go, whatever they get into, from chill time to everyday adventures, protect your dog from parasites with Credelio Quattro. For full safety information, side effects, and warnings, visit CredeliaQuattroLabel.com. Consult your vet or call 1-888-545-5973. Ask your vet for Credelio Quattro and visit QuattroDog.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
All right, glad you're rolling along with us here. Terry O in about 45 minutes here on a Football Friday. No Phil Steele today. Something came up. Phil couldn't join us. That's unfortunate. It's championship weekend. Was really looking forward to getting Phil's picks on championship weekend. But one game tonight that no doubt everyone will be paying attention to, the result, and then what might happen subsequent is the American Athletic Conference championship game. Tulane plays tonight in New Orleans at Ullman against number 24 North Texas. It's at 7 p.m. on ABC. And we would assume that either a short time after that game or tomorrow, we'll likely have some clarity on Blake Baker's future. So just a quick catch-up for those who maybe aren't familiar with what's going on. LSU defensive coordinator Blake Baker on Monday interviewed for the Tulane job. I believe Garland Gillen was the first to report on Wednesday that Baker interviewed for the Memphis job as well. We reported here that both representatives from both Tulane and Memphis came to Baton Rouge on Thursday to meet with Baker face-to-face to make their pitch. The best information I had is that the initial offer from Memphis, who did offer Blake Baker their job, was actually less money than what he's currently making at LSU. That doesn't seem like a realistic opportunity. The Tulane offer would stand to reason was at or above $3 million. John Sumrall was making $3 million per year at Tulane. Blake Baker currently making $2.5 at LSU. My information via multiple people at LSU is that LSU would be willing to match Tulane's offer. So for Blake Baker, as we explained a day ago, it really comes down to which path do you want to take. Do you want to go be a head coach? Are you ready to just go be a head coach at the G6 level at your alma mater still in Louisiana, where you could take advantage of your ties, a place where Blake Baker played in the early 2000s, to go home to Tulane, a very stable program, a program that could very well, if they win tonight, find themselves in the college football playoff. The last two head coaches there have both Willie Fritz and now John Sumrall have used that job to springboard into Power 4 jobs. The same would certainly seem to be true, and that opportunity would be there for Blake Baker. Or do you stay at LSU? Do you stay at LSU as a Power 4 defensive coordinator, a chance next year to continue to build your defense, mesh it with Lane Kiffin's offense, and the opportunity to be maybe be a playoff team and win a national championship, and then springboard from LSU straight into a Power 4 head coaching job where the money is going to be virtually the same. It's really just a matter of, if you're Blake Baker, what do you want to do? I know there are a lot of reports out there that are operating under the assumption that Blake Baker has or will accept the Tulane job. I can tell you that as of right now, he has not accepted that job. My read on this is it was a lot of the New Orleans media, maybe the Tulane media, which tells me that that's coming from Tulane, not from Blake Baker. I have no problem telling you that as of last night at about 11 p.m., Blake Baker had still not made that decision. And I am certain of that. Read into that what you will. Today, Blake Baker was at the LSU football operations building. Now, I also think there is one potentially complicating factor here. You know, Lane Kiffin is obviously LSU's new head coach. He brought with him his brother, Chris Kiffin, who was an analyst on his Ole Miss staff, and has been a defensive coach. He's coached a lot of different positions, but before Chris Kiffin joined Ole Miss as a defensive analyst, he was a linebackers coach with the Houston Texans. And I think you know where I'm going with this. He's coached linebackers at FAU with Lane prior. He's also coached the defensive line. There might be an idea that Lane has that he wants Chris Kiffin to coach linebackers. Well, Blake Baker coaches linebackers. So that's a non-negotiable there. If Blake Baker is still your defense coordinator, he's going to coach linebackers. I don't think that's a deal breaker. I think that's not one of those things that prevents you from retaining the defensive coordinator that you want to retain. But it is something maybe worth considering here. Whatever Blake Baker decides to do, though, my assumption here is that there will be an answer. I'm not sure if we get it Friday night here after the AAC championship game. Probably more likely Saturday is when we get the answer from Blake Baker if he's going to accept that Tulane job or if he's going to remain at LSU. I do think it's worth noting that the other big targets for Tulane are off the board now. Neil Brown was someone that they were reportedly interested in. He's the coach at North Texas. Billy Napier they were interested in. He's now the coach at JMU. So Maybe it's those guys taking a bird in hand, not waiting to see what happens with Blake Baker if he is the preferred target there by Tulane. But Baker is going to have to make a decision, and I assume we're going to get that decision. I'm not sure if we get it Friday night. I guess anything could happen, as we always say, until these things are done. They never are. More likely, probably Saturday is when we hear. And listen, there's a lot of different folks that I've talked to this week since the transition has happened with Lane Kiffin's staff, from members of the current or now previous LSU coaching staff, recruits, families, high school coaches, agents. We've had a lot of those conversations here this week, and certainly over the weekend and early this week, the idea was that Blake Baker was planning to return to Baton Rouge. Now, I think it's important to note that was before Tulane went in home with Blake Baker on Thursday. And so what was that conversation like? What did they offer? What type of timeline are they on? So it could certainly change things, but we're keeping an eye on that. If, in fact, Baker does take the Tulane job, then we'll talk about who the candidates are potentially to replace Blake Baker. But we'll wait here. Hopefully, certainly, I would assume within the next 24 hours, we'll have that decision and that finality. And when we have it, I will certainly talk about it. Now, there was a report Thursday night about another defensive staffer that I want to talk about in just a second. Let me remind you about Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. As we always say, kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens. It's parishrestoration.com. They'll come, they'll spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. As a matter of fact, yesterday with all the stormy weather, I had something on my door. Rear passenger door wasn't sealed, and when I opened the door to go home yesterday, there was like a puddle on the floor mat. So if that happens and you're unaware of it in your vehicle or your home or wherever, you could end up with mold or mildew. You want to knock that out and get it clean smelling as well? Parish Restoration. Check them out online, parishrestoration.com. Just fill out the form on the homepage. They'll be in touch so they can give you that free inspection and that estimate. It's parishrestoration.com. A Football Scoop reported on Thursday evening that Elijah Robinson is being targeted by LSU for its defensive line position. Now, the first thing that's worth mentioning here is the Kyle Williams piece of this. So Kyle Williams, and then I'll get into Robinson. Kyle Williams, LSU, former LSU great, was LSU's defensive line coach this year. We've talked about this a good bit. I do not expect Kyle Williams to be back on LSU staff, and I think that's Kyle Williams' choice. Kyle played 13 years in the NFL, made a lot of money, moved home to Ruston. He's like a scratch golfer. He would play golf every day. He was a member of Squire Creek. He's got kids who are really competitive athletes, soccer. His son's an 8th grader, plays football at the Dunham School now. And I think he was really enjoying life, playing golf, coaching high school at his alma mater, stay close to the game, watching his kids. LSU had gone through a lot of turnover at defensive line coach, as we've gone through over and over again, from Jamar Cain and to Gerald Chapman to Jimmy Lindsey and John Jancic, and then Coach Pete coming back in, and then Bo Davis, which you thought would stabilize, was here for 1 year, then left for the New Orleans Saints, and then Kyle Williams, and now it looks like Kyle's going to be gone. You were hoping that would stabilize things, but I think the reality is for Kyle, it's settled in, man. Working 10, 11, 12-hour days and not playing golf in 6 months, and the season going the way it did with all the expectations, and then the bottom falls out and the coach gets fired. I just get the sense that maybe this isn't what Kyle wants to do, and that's perfectly understandable. So if he bows out and decides he's not going to continue coaching, then LSU's looking for a new defensive line coach. And the name that Football Scoop reported on Thursday night is Elijah Robinson. Now, this is a name that a lot of people familiar with the SEC should very well know. So Elijah Robinson played at Penn State and started his coaching career as a GA at Penn State, and then went to Temple, Baylor, and then in 2018 landed at Texas A&M with Jimbo. And he ended up spending 6 seasons at Texas A&M as the defensive line coach. He also elevated to associate head coach. And when Jimbo was fired, Elijah Robinson became the interim head coach at Texas A&M. Subsequently, Fran Brown hired him at Syracuse to be the associate head coach and defensive coordinator, where he's been the last 2 years. Well, their defenses weren't very good under Robinson, and he was demoted from D.C., and that seemingly has him looking around. So for Lane Kiffin now, as he looks for a new defensive line coach, according to Football Scoop, they've targeted Elijah Robinson. What we reported earlier today over at LouisianaSports.net is that Robinson was in Baton Rouge today. I can confirm he was at LSU Football Ops today. I do not know if LSU has formally offered him a job or if he has accepted. I do not know that as of this moment here on Friday afternoon at 3:28. But it would certainly stand to reason if you put that man on a plane and flew him down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you're interested in him, he's interested in you. So can you dot the I's, cross the T's, and get this across the finish line, bring that man in to be your defensive line coach? That would be a massive win if you could for a lot of reasons. Number one, he's obviously an elite level defensive line coach, so let's start there. Number two, he's also an amazing recruiter with SEC experience. I'll remind you, when he was at Texas A&M, it was Elijah Robinson who recruited Dominic McKinley. Gabe Relaford from Louisiana had commitments from those guys at A&M. And only when he left to go to Syracuse to be the DC did those guys flip to LSU. So you're talking about a guy that played defensive tackle at a high level, has coached in the SEC, has defensive coordinator experience, is a high-level recruiter that players love. I mean, I don't think it's coincidental that here in this small window of the early signing period, and you just lock down Richard Anderson, Deuce Geralds, Trenton Henderson, Lamar Brown, I don't think it's coincidental that with a lot of uncertainty around the defensive staff, those guys lock in, and then we find out about Elijah Robinson. I think as the plan was explained to those guys this week from the start of the early signing period when Lane Kiffin came on to now, it, I would assume, included Elijah Robinson being a part of the fray. So we'll wait for some type of official announcement or if we can get it confirmed that he's actually joined the staff, but this would be a major coup. I know a lot of people have asked about Ed Orgeron. Flatly, if you give me the option of hiring a 40-year-old defensive line coach who's at the top of his game right now, or a defensive line coach in his 60s who has been out of the game for 4 years, who tanked your program at the end of his tenure as a head coach and has just been out of it for 4 years to try to get back in, this is easy. Elijah Robinson is the slam dunk, absolute no-brainer in this scenario. So you can get this thing done with Elijah Robinson. Major coup for Lane Kiffin if he's able to get that done here, regardless of what happens with defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens with Blake Baker. All right, it's after further review. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Ton to do, man. Terry will be here in about 30 minutes from right now. We're looking forward to that. We'll do all the stuff. Ryan's letter, Kick Rocks, all the good stuff. We'll get Terrio's take on the staff changes and everything going on out at LSU. So very, very much looking forward to that here as we move through today's Friday edition of AFR presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Awesome opportunity to get by this weekend over at Don Juan. Have a fine premium cigar, whiskey, cocktail, craft beer, TVs everywhere where you can watch your favorite sporting events all weekend long here on Championship Weekend. So get on by Don Juan Cigar Bar. All right, y'all, when I got a quick break, come back, we'll go around the SEC. Also, big waves in the Big Ten that I want to talk about. We'll get to that as we continue on AFR.
AFR.
All right, y'all, Christmas tree time is here, and the place to go is Clegg's Nursery. The absolute best selection over at Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. They've got live and artificial Christmas trees. Beautiful selection. We got our Christmas trees at our Christmas tree at Clegg's a week ago on Black Friday. They still got an amazing selection at all 4 locations, all different sizes as well. So make sure you get on by. You want the Charlie Brown Christmas tree or you want the Griswold family Christmas tree, anything in between, they got you covered over at Clegg's. So get on by and see them, any of the 4 locations. Siegen Air Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Remember, we tell you every day to buy local and shop local. They've got amazing selection of poinsettias and all the different decor over at Clegg's Nursery. So get on by this weekend, decorate your house, get your Christmas trees, buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
I'll go around the SEC here in just a quick second. Also, Saints-Bucks on Sunday. Injury reports out. We'll get to that here in about 10 minutes from right now. Obviously, with Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss, there's this big question about the college football calendar and poaching within the league and all that sort of stuff. Well, the SEC championship game is on Saturday, so Greg Sankey does a press conference before the SEC championship. And he was asked about that, a rule for member schools poaching, like having to wait until after the season, like to prevent a situation like this with LSU plucking Lane Kiffin during the season. Here's what he said.
You have to go back a number of years. We had a rule about responsibility for outreach if you're going to contact another coach, and our outside legal counsel suggested for antitrust reasons that be eliminated, which it was years and years ago. I think that's an illustration of the difficulty just legislating at a conference level.
So, Greg Sankey's a very smart man. Let me dumb that down for you. No, you can't tell adult people when they can and can't sign contracts, which is true. So, the bigger question, this goes back to the thing. It's not an LSU problem or an Ole Miss problem or a Lane Kiffin problem. It's the calendar, and that's really the problem that college football has, because you have all of these formative things happening during the season. The December signing period, the transfer portal, hiring and firing coaches, all while the season's going on. And they're so important you can't bypass anything. I mean, how absurd is it that Alabama and Georgia are preparing to play the SEC championship game, and on Wednesday through Friday of the week, they're preparing for the championship game? They're trying to put together a signing class? Like, the calendar is stupid. I mean, that is ultimately what is at issue here. So I don't know how they fix the calendar, but Greg Sankey was asked about that as well.
There are opportunities for adjustments to the calendar that, at least in my view, probably won't solve everything, but could provide a healthier environment. And where there are solutions so that you're not disrupting a team season, I think those should be pursued. Unfortunately, the environment we're in doesn't allow and hasn't resulted in some of the changes that even the basic change, like removing that early signing period from kind of compelling people to make change rapidly, has taken place. And that's how I view things. Can changes be made? Absolutely. Is it just the recruiting calendar? Likely not. Perhaps it's a competitive calendar that could be explored. But I think everyone would agree, and whether it's a roster or a coaching staff, looking at something other than maybe a medical emergency, we should be able to have competition through the year with those rosters and coaching staffs intact.
I think that's common sense. We would all agree. Like, you should be able to play the season without Bo Prabula leaving Penn State during their playoff run to enter the transfer portal. Like, he should be able to finish the season. Lane Kiffin should be able to finish the season at Ole Miss before he leaves for LSU. Like, all of that makes sense. We could all agree that's common sense. How do you do it? So we talked about there's the recruiting calendar, but then there's also the competitive calendar, which means the games. My suggestion is you would have to have your season finished on New Year's Day. Does that mean you start earlier? Like, you start games this last or second to last week in August? You don't have a long break. You play the regular season finale Thanksgiving weekend and then go right into the playoffs through December. And then as soon as the playoffs are done into January, then you could have a January portal window and you could have your coaching carousel, and then you could stick to your February signing period. Look, there's ways to do it that can alleviate a lot of this. I'll continue to say the irony is all these coaches and the competition committee that agreed to these changes thought they were making their lives easier by having their roster settled sooner, but all it's done actually is the thing they did to make things easier for themselves ended up only further complicating things and making a gigantic mess, as we've seen. So I think there's some common sense answers, but common sense doesn't always prevail. All right, it's after further review. Now we're brought to you by Supper Club, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. Y'all, you got to check out Supper Club. If you've not ever been, what a time to go by Supper Club. So I was talking to Chef Layton earlier this week. They did an amazing job. You got to check out their Instagram if you haven't, Supper Club BR. They did an amazing job decorating for Christmas. And, there's a lot of times there's places like Rockefeller Center or the Plaza Hotel or like in New Orleans at the Roosevelt where people go for photo ops because they're so beautiful at this time of year. I would highly recommend you add Supper Club to that list. You want to take some photos, gorgeous. They did an amazing job decorating the restaurant. So not only will you have an amazing meal, you'll have an awesome dining experience and a very festive experience as well here around the holidays. SupperClubBTR.com is where you can go to get your reservations. SupperClubBTR.com. And remember, always open seating at the bar. 14 bar stools, 7 bar tables. So you can always just walk in and dine at the bar at one of the bar tables if you can't get a reservation. But log on to book your reservation today at SupperClubBTR.com. All right, it's after further review. Do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Running back Jam Miller apparently facing long odds to play Saturday in the SEC championship game against Georgia. Lower leg injury that he suffered in the Iron Bowl. He was leaving the game last week at Jordan Hare on crutches. Miller is expected to be out of the SEC title game. It's not, though, expected to keep him out for the season. He should be back for the college football playoff.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
Arkansas is set to hire Tim Cramsey as their offensive coordinator and Ron Roberts as their defensive coordinator. Cramsey was the OC at Memphis the past 4 seasons. Roberts comes over from Florida, where he was the DC for the past 2 years.
The Florida Gators.
Florida's hiring Tulane's director of football operations, Jeremiah Cartwright, to John Sumrall's staff. Cartwright spent the last 2 seasons in that same role at Tulane down in New Orleans. He was also with Sumrall for 2 years under Troy.
The Auburn Tigers.
Alex Golesh is expected to retain Vontrell King-Williams as Auburn's defensive line coach. We also learned this week that DJ Durkin will remain as the defensive coordinator. King-Williams, not a new face for Golesh. They were together on staff at Illinois in the early 2010s. Also led Auburn's 2025 recruiting class with some of the top signees on the defensive line like Malik Autry and Jordan Crawford.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
And Kentucky added a name familiar to our audience. Wide receiver Kenny Darby has signed with the Wildcats. 6'1", 180. Had been committed to LSU. He was processed out of the class after Lane Kiffin was hired. He's a Louisiana native from North Louisiana, the number 188 overall prospect in the country. Offers from Bama, Miami, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Tennessee. It is worth noting, of course, that former LSU offensive coordinator Joe Sloan has taken the OC job at Kentucky, so Sloan and Darby will unite there in Lexington. All right, there you have it. That is around the SEC. Friday show is brought to you by Don Juan Cigar Bar in Town Center. Of course, Don Juan Cigar Company right next door. It's a retail shop, bar. Check it out there at Don Juan. Hat tip to Joe Sloan and to Kenny Darby. That'll be a great pairing there in Lexington, how things may play out there. And, the interesting thing, I know people have had their jokes about Sloan this year, about Sloan joining Kentucky. I'm not sure there's anybody in Baton Rouge right now that may feel more vindicated than Joe Sloan. He was fired with Brian Kelly, and the offense was terrible this year. And my point all along has been, whoever you want to blame, you're right. If you want to blame Joe Sloan, you're right. You want to blame Brian Kelly, you're right. You want to blame Garrett Nussmeier, you're right. If you want to blame the receivers, the offensive line, Brad Davis, you're right. Because everybody shares blame when something goes so terribly wrong like LSU's offense did this year. It's one of the worst offenses in the history of the program. So they all deserve blame. But if you were putting the blame for this offense squarely at the feet of Joe Sloan, Garrett Nussmeier, like a lot of you did, and then you watched what happened over the final month of the season with Michael Van Buren playing and Alex Atkins calling plays, you realize it wasn't just those two guys. again, everybody bears some of the burden of the blame for what went wrong. But I'll remind you that Nussmeier was the quarterback and Sloan was the OC for the offense in 2024 when they were one of the top scoring offenses in the country. So I'll be fascinated to see what Joe Sloan does at Kentucky, and certainly wish him well. All right, and remember, part of Joe Sloan's story at LSU will be that he was the quarterback coach when Jaden Daniels won the Heisman. And for whatever you want to say, he deserves a lot of credit for helping develop Jaden Daniels as a passer, because the big knock on Jaden when he got here was decision-making and accuracy. Remember, his last season at Arizona State was 10 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Well, his 2 years in Baton Rouge, he improved dramatically. I mean, he had one of the best seasons we ever saw in 2023 when he won the Heisman Trophy. So time passes. Hopefully you remember the good that went along with the bad. And there was bad this year, no doubt. But good luck to Joe Sloan at Kentucky, and certainly Kenny Darby, who will join him up there in the Bluegrass. All right, it's after further review. We'll knock out a final break of hour number 1. Get to Saints injury report, and Terrio's here in about 15 minutes. It's AFR.
After further review.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. Matter of fact, had lunch today with Matt Rick and Paul Ragusa from over at River City's 1 Hour Air. We try to do that every so often, get together, just kind of talk about how things are going and the business and the market and everything. And, our audience, all of you, continue to really lead the way. And I'm sincerely grateful for that all of you who patronize our sponsors and support the sponsors that support our show. And River City's 1 Hour Air has been awesome. I mean, they've been partnered with us on this show for a decade, maybe longer now. I'd have to go back and see how long it's been. But Matt and Paul have been awesome partners of ours here. And I know they're going to treat you right. So, if you have an issue with your AC or your heater at your home, look for the big yellow vans and trucks with a giant clock on the side. I say it all the time. They're always on time or you don't pay a dime. They value your time. They value your money. They're going to do work right. They're never going to pressure you or upsell you. They'll do a diagnostic. They'll let you make a decision of what's best for your budget. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar.
Yeah, taking a ton of strides in the right direction. It's just really unfortunate that I got hurt in the first play of the game. And I tried to go back in the game 2 more times and just didn't work out that way. But the training staff's been doing great with me. I feel great right now and getting ready to go.
Saints safety Justin Reed was on Good Morning Football on Friday. Suffered the knee injury, trying to get ready to take on the Bucs on Sunday. Ellen Moore, when he met with reporters on Friday, had this to say about what the safety position would look like if Reed can't go.
Been a good group back there. We feel fortunate to have the vets that we've carried. Jonas obviously has done a nice job. He's making plays. He's done a really good job. And then to have, Burgess, Jordan Howden, to have those guys. And it seems like when those guys get their opportunities, they've been really productive. And so they've done a nice job. And so we have a ton of confidence in those guys to go and execute the plan really well.
I should correct myself. Reed, the official report is out. So Reed is not going to go. He is out of the game on Sunday. So that'll be the plan on Sunday with Jonas, with Burgess. We'll see what else. Ugo Amadi could kick back there and give him some depth. So the official injury report on Friday, 3 players are out. Taliesin Fuaga will miss another game this with an ankle injury. Did not practice all week. Alvin Kamara also out, listed with both a knee and an ankle. Justin Reed, as we mentioned, is out. The good news with Jonas Sanker is we had told you on Thursday that he was a DNP with a head injury. Now, they did not designate concussion. It was just designated as a head injury. So nothing further clarified there, but he was a full participant Friday, which is great news. So let's see if we get some more detail on what that head injury was, but it sounds like he's going to be good to go. He's a full participant on Friday, was Jonas Sanker, and you need it with Reed out. And then Olave, after a DNP Wednesday, was limited both Thursday and Friday. He's officially listed as questionable, but if you're out there in a limited capacity Thursday and Friday, chances are you're going to be able to go in some capacity. So we'll keep an eye on Chris Olave. So with Fuaga out, Asim Richards has filled in, and here was Moore talking about Richards filling in there at right tackle.
Yeah, he's done some good stuff. Obviously, there's some learning and growing as you go through this process. He's done a nice job of acclimating himself here through the trade after preseason. I think he's got certainly some traits that we're excited about as he develops, and he's been able to play and help us in some situations that were challenging once we lost Tully a few times.
For Tampa, there are 3 players that are out. Mike Evans, who was activated off of IR, the 21-day window was open, but he is out. He will not play this weekend against the Saints. Same with Jalen McMillan and Rashad Wisdom. All 3 of those players are coming off of IR. Their 21-day window has opened. So Evans, McMillan, and Wisdom are all out for this game. The only other designations, Tristan Wirfs did return to practice Friday. He was limited with the oblique. He's questionable. And then Benjamin Morrison, their cornerback, has a hamstring injury. He was full participant all week, but he's still designated officially as questionable for Sunday. So a longer injury list for Tampa, but certainly a more significant injury list for New Orleans with 3 starters out. Fuaga, Kamara, Reed all out, and then Olave questionable. So Saints and Bucks coming up on Sunday down in Tampa. Bucks beat the brakes off the Saints the first time they played in the Dome, 23-3. We'll see if the Saints can maybe return the favor on Sunday down in Tampa. Saints are 2-10, Bucks are 7-5, just a half-game lead in the division. So they got work to do. All right, it's after further review. We are brought to you by Parrish Construction and Roofing, parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. Do business with someone you know. That's me and Terrio and Tilly and Joe and our whole staff over at Parrish Construction and Roofing. Roof repairs, roof replacements, commercial, residential. Was actually, incidentally, was at Lee Michaels today talking to Scott, and he was talking to me actually about their roof at Lee Michaels there on Corporate and sort of the intricacies that they have at their commercial property, and if they have issues, they'd love for us to help them and all that sort of stuff. So the point is, it doesn't matter if it's commercial, residential, repairs, replacements. We love to help you out. Parrishbuilt.com, parrishbuilt.com. All right, y'all, Sports Center's coming up in hour number 2.
After further review.
Speaking of Lee Michaels, lmfj.com, was over there at the Lee Michaels on Corporate today. Got to bump into Scott. Man, it was popping over there today. You could tell. It is December 5th. And we are 3 weeks away from Christmas, and there are a lot of people who are trying to get their Christmas shopping done. Make sure that you put Lee Michaels on your list to get that beautiful piece of jewelry. As I was just sort of perusing the cases, yes, I mean, gorgeous diamond rings, engagement rings, if you're thinking of popping the question, but it's not just diamond engagement rings, necklaces, pendants, bracelets, watches, beautiful writing utensils as well, writing instruments. I'm telling you, there's something. Whoever's on your list, you want to get that gift that is going to make him or her absolutely their jaw drop. A beautiful, stunning piece of jewelry. Thrill him or her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. 10 locations in all. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.